Well, welcome to BCN 3012, the History of Construction. My name is Rick Smales. If you want to know a little bit more about me, there's a PowerPoint that says Meet the Instructor, and that'll tell you a little bit about me, my background, my family, my interest, and all that kind of good stuff. What I want to do today is I want to talk a little bit about an overview of the course, the types of things that we're going to be looking at, and then how the course is structured. Now, most of the material that's presented in the course is going to be in the form of narrated PowerPoints, which means you're not going to get to see me. Now, not that that's such a great loss, because I have some really great photographs that it's really going to help you understand what we're talking about, and you don't need me distracting you down in the corner chatting on. You need to have your undivided attention on the slides. So, anyway, here's how we're going to do this. We're going to cover some of the greatest architectural achievements so far in civilization. We're going to start at the beginning. We're going to go back to Mesopotamia. Remember the Tigris and Euphrates River, the cradle of civilization. And we're going to see how early on, and we're talking tens of thousands of years ago, how folks got together, created villages, and started building. Human beings build. And from the get-go, they built big. So we're going to see some beginnings of some pyramids in Mesopotamia. Contemporary to those folks, over in Western Europe, in France and England, we're going to see these megalithic builders, folks that aren't going to be building in clay and brick. They're going to be building in stone, and I mean huge stone. We've all seen Stonehenge. This is the scale that we're talking about. We're going to move back to the Middle East. We're going to move into Egypt. And we're going to see the pyramids. We're going to see the evolution of the pyramids, how they started out, and each step of the way, how they figured out the design and the construction to get it right. And it took a couple attempts, but we can see over like 1,000 years how the technology of the time improved and allowed them to build the pyramids that we see today. We're going to stay in that Mediterranean area. We're going to look at folks called the Minoans and their culture and their architecture and temples. We're also going to look at the Greeks, the pre-Greeks and the classical Greeks. Now we're all seeing Greek temples. So we're going to see the Greek temples and how they were designed and how they were built, structures like the Parthenon as well. Then we're going to move on, and we're just moving ahead in time and a little bit west in geography. We're going to talk about the Romans. Now the Romans are hands down the greatest engineers to come along. And the Romans, they created roads, they created viaducts and aqueducts and amphitheaters, the Colosseum, just all kinds of great engineering marvels. And they invented the arch. And you're going to see how the arch was one of those technological breakthroughs that allowed building, the craft of engineering and building, to leap forward. As we move ahead in time, we're going to still be based kind of in the Western Europe area. We're going to look at Romanesque buildings, which we're starting to get now larger in scale. We're getting to more ecclesiastical buildings, churches. And then we're going to look at the epitome of churches, which are Gothic cathedrals, and how they were built, and the trial and error methods that they use to construct these buildings. We're also going to be in back over in Turkey through the Byzantine Empire, and we're going to see where some of the largest structures in the world. In fact, there's a building in Istanbul, Hagia Sophia, that when it was finished, it was the largest building in the world for 1,000 years. For 1,000 years, it was the largest building in the world. So by that time, we will have covered a lot of the Middle East, the Near East, and Europe and Western Europe. Then we're going to take a leap over to the New World, the other side of Atlantic. We're going to look at North and South America. We're going to take a look at the cliff dwellings in New Mexico. We're going to move down into Mexico and see the pyramids there. The Mayan. Here's a civilization that did some of the most amazing buildings and structures in the New World and then just disappeared. What happened? Where did they go? We'll also visit the Aztecs in central Mexico. These are the folks that came in contact with the Spanish early on. And then we're also going to look down in South America at some of the great civilizations in South America, ending with the Inca Empire. And the Incas to the New World were the Romans of the Old World. They were the engineers that created, again, some amazing structures. And at this point, the structures that they created were high in the Andes Mountains. So some really fascinating stuff there. And also along the way, we're not going to forget the rest of the world. We're going to look at Africa and see some of the construction there. There's a lot of adobe construction. There's some cliff dwellings there. We're going to look at China. It has a unique building style, as well as things like the Great Wall of China. And we're also going to look at Islamic architecture, where we have, again, ecclesiastical buildings, religious buildings, but built from a different point of view. Very geometrical and a lot of calligraphy in. So some really fascinating buildings. So there's a lot to look forward to. We're going to look at all the great stuff. And the idea is I want you to see it, to understand how it's built, and then I want you to go visit it. There's certain parts of this course are almost like a travel log. I want you to be aware of what's out there, and I want to encourage you to go out into the world and participate. And when you go somewhere, when you look at it, I want you to understand what it is that you're looking at. So there's a lot of things going on here at a variety of different levels, and I hope you really kind of enjoy the course. Now, the way the course is set up goes like this. We've broken it into modules, and modules are nothing but several chapters that kind of hang together in a logical grouping. So what we're going to do is, for each chapter that we go over, there's going to be a quiz, online quiz of course. There's going to be a quiz taken from the book reading. Then there's going to be lectures. These are going to be my voiceover PowerPoint lectures. So you'll have the lectures, and there will be, depending on the size of the module and how many chapters, many lectures in there. And I'm sorry, but I don't do little 15-minute little blurbs where you can get in and out. I give full class time lectures. But then again, you can pick and choose when you want to listen to them. In addition to the lecture material, there's going to be some supplemental material. I may throw in a couple of videos, video clips for you to look at, web links. There's some really great stuff on the web these days that you should be aware of, and I'm going to try and pass some of that along to you. And then there's going to be the primary way of evaluation and measurement in this course is going to be, of course, by online exams. So while the quizzes are going to check your book reading, the online tests will be lined up with each module. Each module is the grouping of test material and the supplemental material, so you'll have a test for each of the modules. And right now we're looking at 5 modules. Right? The other thing that we're going to have is a trip around the world. It's a little exercise that we're going to do in Google Maps. What I'm going to ask you to do is kind of trace out the places that we've been. But there's a whole little other section here that talks about that and actually shows you a little bit of how-to in there. So I'm not going to go over too much in depth here, but just say that that's referred to in another section here. So that's basically the way it's laid out. You're going to do the reading, you're going to take the quizzes, and you're going to listen to the lectures and the supplemental material and take some tests on that. Right? And hopefully you'll enjoy the topics and the way they're presented, and if you're not careful, you might learn something along the way. So with that, I'm going to close out this introduction and point you to go ahead and start on Module 1. So thanks a lot, and I'll be checking in with you.